Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise to get you the insights you really need. So picture this. You're facing a critical decision in your enterprise. You've got, data piling up, pressure for efficiency is constant, and AI seems like the obvious answer. But then this question pops up, one that's maybe overlooked. For your AI automation, do you need the massive power of a large language model? Or is it the agility of a small language model? Or maybe is there some kind of optimized middle ground?
And that's not just a tech spec question, is it? For anyone in a CTO role or an AI architect, innovation lead, this choice is deeply strategic. It really dictates performance, costs, and, well, your future agility, your competitive edge even. So today, we're hoping to unpack all of that, cut through the jargon, and maybe spark some real aha moments for you.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the mission today. We're going to dissect LLMs and SLMs. We'll look at their distinct advantages, their real-world uses in business, and crucially, how maybe a hybrid approach could be the smartest play for your company, especially when we start talking about these sophisticated agentic AI systems. Actually, before we go deeper, you just mentioned agentic AI systems. That term is cropping up everywhere. For listeners maybe familiar with LLMs, but less so with agentic, could you just quickly sketch out what that means, practically speaking?
Yeah, absolutely. So think of an agentic AI system less like one giant AI doing everything and more like a team of specialized AI agents working together, just like a good human team, right? Each agent has a job. One might fetch data, another does the complex thinking, maybe a third talks to other software. And they're all managed, orchestrated by a kind of central brain to get a bigger multi-step job done automatically. Often, it even decides on the fly which AI tool or model is best for each little step. It's about breaking down the big problem.
Got it. Like an AI task force with specialists. Okay, makes sense. So let's start with the heavy hitters in that task force. Large language models, LLMs. When we say LLMs, we mean huge scale, right? Models with, hundreds of billions, even trillions of parameters, trained on just unbelievable amounts of data. And all that training lets them excel at really complex reasoning, handling massive amounts of context, doing multimodal stuff, understanding text, images, code, all seamlessly. We're seeing examples now like OpenAI's GPT 4.5, known for its advanced reasoning. Then you've got Anthropic's Claude 4 Sonnet, still efficient, but managing a huge, 200,000 token context. And Google's Gemini 2.5, that's pushing towards, 1 million tokens, handling text, images, and code within that massive window. And just to picture that million token context, imagine feeding an AI, say, every report, memo, customer transcript, legal doc from the last 5 years, and it actually understands the connections, the trends hidden across all of it. That's huge for big picture strategy. But there's a catch, isn't there? These things need serious power. Often cloud, high-end GPUs, they're resource hogs.
Exactly. And that's where the small language models, the SLMs, come in as such a compelling, contrast and a solution, really. These are much more compact, fewer parameters. They're specifically built for efficiency, for very targeted jobs. The benefits are pretty clear. Way less compute power needed. So they're great for low latency stuff, cost-effective applications, and really importantly, easier to deploy closer to where your data actually is. You mentioned Mistral Small 3, for example. That's 24 billion parameters, tiny compared to the giants, but it's optimized for speed, low latency. Or look at Microsoft's Phi 2. That's designed to run right on the edge, think smart sensors, mobile apps. And then there are open source models like DistillGPT, TinyLlama. They're great for narrow, super efficient tasks. The real appeal of SLMs often comes down to speed, cost, and critically that ability to run them on-premise for privacy, for security. That's a big deal.
Okay, so the size difference is obvious, but you said it's more than just parameters. What really separates them in practice? For a decision maker, what are the deeper implications?
You're spot on. It boils down to a really critical set of trade-offs, and these directly impact how you actually use them in your business. Let's dig into those differences. First, just model size and compute. You take something like DeepSeek R1, 671 billion parameters, that needs serious hardware, racks of GPUs, usually in the cloud. Compare that to Mistral Small, 324 billion parameters. It's sufficient enough that realistically it can run on a single powerful GPU, maybe even a high-end MacBook with enough RAM, say 32 gigs. That's not just about hardware costs. It changes your whole infrastructure plan, your operational footprint, even your energy use.
Right, a massive difference in just the physical needs. What about performance then? How fast do they actually work?
Good question. That leads us to performance versus latency. Now, LLMs are undeniably better for their super complex, nuanced tasks. They have incredible depth. But because they're so big, they often have higher latency. You ask a question, and there's a noticeable pause before you get the full answer back. Now contrast that with an SLM like Mistral Small 3. It can crank out maybe 150 tokens per second. To put that in perspective, that could be like 3 times faster than some big LLMs like Llama 3.370B. That speed difference isn't trivial. It means AI can feel truly real-time interactive. Think customer service or factory automation. It opens up whole new possibilities.
And speed, or maybe complexity, usually has a cost attached. How do they stack up financially, the running costs?
It's a huge factor, maybe one of the biggest drivers for choosing strategically. The cost to run and fine-tune an LLM, it can be eye-watering. Training these cutting-edge LLMs can cost billions. Even just running them day to day, the inference cost adds up significantly. SLMs are just dramatically cheaper. We could be talking, like you said, maybe 30 times less expensive to run and fine-tune than some LLMs. That hits your operational budget directly, right away. It makes AI viable for more routine tasks where an LLM would just be financial overkill.
30 times.
Yeah.
Okay, huge cost difference. And what about that context window you mentioned? How much info can they juggle at once?
Right, memory and context length, it's crucial. So LLMs like Gemini 2.5, with that million token window, they can absorb and understand truly vast amounts of information. Perfect for complex analysis. SLMs have smaller context windows, but, and this is key, they're often perfectly adequate for many everyday business tasks. It's not about bigger always being better, it's matching the tool to the job. A simple chatbot doesn't need a million tokens of context. That's just wasteful. Legal document analysis, though, maybe it does.
And the last point, but maybe the most critical for many businesses, especially in regulated fields, data privacy. Where does the processing happen?
Yeah, this is often the decider. Privacy and on-premise deployment. SLMs are much, much easier to deploy right inside your own data center or even on edge devices. That ability is absolutely vital if you're dealing with strict rules like GDPR or HIPAA. You maintain complete control over your data, no worries about where it's going. LLMs, because they need so much power, often mean relying on big cloud providers. That can definitely raise questions about data residency, privacy, sovereignty, especially with sensitive corporate data. For a lot of companies, keeping data entirely on-prem with an SLM isn't just nice to have, it's a fundamental requirement.
Okay, that breakdown of the trade-offs is super clear. But for our listeners, the rubber meets the road when they ask, how do I actually use this? Where do these models, with all their strengths and weaknesses, actually fit into the day-to-day reality of running a business?
Exactly. Let's get practical. So, when should you deploy LLMs in your enterprise? You reserve them for the tasks that genuinely need that deep reasoning power, that ability to understand huge varied contexts or handle different types of data, multimodal processing. Think about complex reasoning tasks. In finance, maybe it's advanced fraud detection, spotting subtle patterns across millions of transactions that humans might miss, compliance monitoring too. In healthcare, multimodal diagnostics, combining scans, patient notes, maybe genetic data for a fuller picture. Or in R&D, using models like DeepSeek R1 for really complex scientific simulations, analyzing genomic data, speeding up research. LLMs are also the power behind sophisticated R8 pipelines, retrieval augmented generation. That's where models like GPT 4.5 connect to your company's private data PII, financial records, your internal knowledge base, and use it to give accurate, context-specific answers without making things up. It lets the LLM read your private library securely. And for agent orchestration, remember our AI task force. LLMs often act as the brain, coordinating multiple specialist AI agents to automate really complex workflows. Think back office processes or sophisticated customer journeys, and of course, multimodal applications. Using models like Gemini 2.5 to generate marketing campaigns with text and images, or analyze product designs combining visuals and specs.
Okay, so LLMs handle the deep, complex, wide-ranging stuff. Where do the SLMs really excel then? When are they the clear winners?
You turn to SLMs when efficiency, speed, and cost are paramount. They're absolutely perfect for fast responses. Think high-volume customer support chatbots or virtual assistants. Low latency is critical there for a good user experience. You don't want awkward pauses. Imagine using something like Mistral Small 3, where the interaction feels almost instantaneous, completely natural. They're also ideal for edge or on-device use. Models like Phi 2 running directly on IoT sensors or mobile apps. This enables real-time processing right where the data is generated. Think predictive maintenance alerts on a factory machine, or instant language translation on your phone even without great connectivity. Cloud latency just wouldn't work there. And they are incredibly cost-effective for repetitive tasks. Handling huge volumes of things like summarizing meeting notes, categorizing emails, or answering basic FAQs. Using an SLM for this saves a ton compared to sending every little thing to a big, expensive LLM. And again, that internal data compliance angle. Being able to deploy them on-premise easily makes them the default choice for regulated industries like healthcare, finance, legal, where data security is absolutely non-negotiable.
That really paints a clear picture of their distinct roles. But when you talk to CTOs wrestling with this, what are the toughest calls? Are there common mistakes people make trying to pick just one right model? Or is it always more nuanced? How do you decide?
It's definitely nuanced, and yeah, the biggest mistake is probably trying to find that one silver bullet model for everything. It just doesn't exist. The choice really hinges on a few key factors unique to your enterprise. First off, business size and resources. Big companies, with big budgets, lots of data, strong infrastructure, they can really leverage LLMs for those large-scale, complex, cross-departmental tasks. Small to medium enterprises, they often find SLMs much more practical, lower cost, easier to deploy, less demanding on resources. That's a huge plus if you're a startup or just have tighter constraints. Second, you have to look really closely at the type of workflows you actually need to automate. Take finance again. LLMs for that tricky fraud detection, analyzing unstructured reports. But for processing thousands of transactions per second or reconciling accounts, SLMs win on speed and cost there. Seals, maybe an SLM handles initial lead qualification chats, but an LLM drafts a complex, personalized proposal or analyzes market trends. Customer support, SLMs for the frequent, simple questions offering instant answers. LLMs step in for the really thorny issues needing deep product knowledge or empathy. Then the big one, regulatory and privacy constraints. This is often black and white. If you're in healthcare, finance, legal, anywhere with super strict data privacy rules like GDPR or HIPAA, SLMs are often the only practical choice for on-premise deployment. Keeping that sensitive data inside your own firewall gives you control that cloud-based LLMs, well, they make it much harder, or at least much more complex and expensive, to achieve the same security posture. It's often a legal necessity. And finally, it comes down to budget and inference speed requirements. Pretty straightforward, this one. Got a bigger budget and need absolute top-tier performance for something really complex where nuance matters most? LLMs are probably your pick. Tighter budget. Need responses now, handling massive volumes of simpler interactions. SLMs are going to be far more efficient, practical, and sustainable for you.
Okay, so we've got the individual strengths, the decision factors. But this leads us nicely to what sounds like maybe the ultimate strategy for many, the hybrid approach, especially with those agentic systems. How does that synergy actually play out in a business?
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting, especially in those agentic setups. The core idea is smart leverage, right? Using the best tool for each part of the job to optimize both performance and cost. So, the LLMs, they handle the really heavy cognitive lifting, the complex reasoning, the strategic planning, maybe orchestrating multiple agents across different software systems, analyzing those massive, messy data sets for deep insights. They're like the chief strategist or the expert consultant on your AI team. And then the SLMs get deployed for the high volume, fast response, often more specialized tasks. Think those real-time customer chats where speed is everything. Or processing sensor data right on the factory floor edge computing without waiting for a round trip to the cloud. Let's take that fraud detection example again. An SLM could rapidly scan millions of transactions, flagging anything slightly unusual super fast, super cheap. Then only the flagged transactions get passed to a powerful LLM. The LLM does the deep dive, cross-referencing customer history, external data, maybe compliance rules to figure out if it's real fraud or just an anomaly. In a well-designed agentic system, this handoff is dynamic. The system decides in real time which model is best. Customer support flow. SLM handles the initial chat, figures out the basic issue, answers simple stuff instantly. If it gets complex, needs deep knowledge from manuals or intricate troubleshooting, the SLM packages up the context and hands it off to an LLM, like calling in an expert. The LLM figures out the complex answer, maybe sends it back to the SLM to summarize it neatly for the customer, or even translate it. It's a sophisticated division of labor, not just a simple handoff, maximizing efficiency at every single step.
That's a really great way to visualize it. It's not either, it's composing them intelligently.
Exactly right. And this view is really taking hold because fundamentally, no single AI model can do everything well for a business. The really successful AI platforms are being designed now to intelligently route tasks to the right model for that specific function. You tailor your agent stack, your AI team to deliver the best results while keeping costs in check and staying compliant. It's about building these highly efficient, specialized AI capabilities.
So let's wrap this up for you. Choosing your path for enterprise AI automation really comes down to your specific needs. It's always a balance. You're weighing task complexity against your budget, how fast you need answers, and those critical regulatory hurdles. LLMs, unmatched power for the deep, complex stuff. SLMs, Incredible efficiency, speed, flexibility for targeted, high-volume, often on-premise tasks. And, as we just discussed, often the smartest approach is a hybrid strategy, especially using Agentic AI to really get the best of both worlds, peak performance and cost-effectiveness.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is realizing these architectural choices, LLM, SLM, hybrid, they aren't just technical details. They fundamentally shape how agile your company can be, how compliant it is, how it operates in this digital age. Which leaves us with a pretty big question for you to think about. Beyond just making things run smoother today, how could strategically deploying these hybrid LLM SLM systems actually unlock totally new ways of doing business, new competitive advantages that maybe we haven't even fully grasped yet?
That is a powerful thought to end on. As you think about your own business, your own workflows, consider where these insights fit. What specific tasks, what departments, what challenges you face could really benefit from this kind of tailored AI model strategy, smartly combining the strengths of both LLMs and SLMs. We really hope this deep dive gives you a clearer path forward in making those crucial high-impact decisions.